Today we're going to talk about A Primer for Visual Literacy. It's a book written in mid of 70s and talk about how to read images and how to write images too. It goes to the same principle that in the same way that we learn to write and read letters, now it's time to write and read images. In visual perception, we all need to find balance in images, and this process happens in our unconscious. The first concept that I'm going to present to you is the unseen visual axis. Is the horizontal and vertical basic relationship of us and our environment. So when we first see an image like a circle, the first thing your brain do is to draw a x and y axis that gonna show us the balance. Here in the last circle, you can see how the impression that we have that the circle is falling. Outside the circle is the same. The only thing different here is the base line that is inclined. So we have this impression of the circle is falling. So the eye seek. When we see an object, we seek and go a path first to down and then to the left. Even that we can think it's easy to imagine that in a regular shape like a circle or a square, it's not really easy to do this on more complex shapes. So here we see the left and down angle. Following this path of the eye, we go to the down and then to the left. And this comes in a first primary vertical direction and then for a secondary left direction. All this goes in your brain unconsciously, and there is no really judgment in how to do it. It's more like a scientific fact that your eyes gonna read. So in other cultures that have another system of reading, it may occur differently. So the balance is the strongest visual reference for conscious and unconscious visual judgment. Like everybody needs to stand up and we search our balance. And it is presented even in nature as in humans. Even a tree needs to find his balance. The stress is the unexpected, irregular, and complex, unstable. Always that you're gonna have a concept, you're gonna have another concept that opposes it. So the stress is opposes to balance. When we draw the unseen visual axis, we can see that in complex forms, we're gonna have a sense of disequilibrium if the form is not regular. Here in the middle, you can see repose and stress. The stress is not bad. The stress is a way to call the attention of the viewer because it is unexpected. And the eyes need to find this balance. And when you don't deliver it at hand, it's gonna catch the attention. After this more deep presentation, we're gonna see for images and understand a little about this. So the balanced, harmonious, as opposed to exaggerated, distorted, and emotional. Here it is important to think as a composition, not only as an object. So here we have two sides of the heart or one heart anatomical. Thinking this in the composition, we see here in the kidney asymmetry because we have a kidney in each side, even if one at all is not symmetrical. But we have asymmetry here as in the liver. Positive and negative. Here we can see in the scalise, you can see the face of two people. This is a concept in the Gestalt. Happens when you look at the shape of the form. So that's why we are looking at black and white figures, because we are looking at the shape. and not colors here. Here you can see the list of all the concepts that the author of the book, A Primer of Visual Literacy, talk with us. We're not going to talk about it all today. In fact, this is just an introduction to we better go on our process. Understanding this balance or UNC visual axis as a first lesson, we're gonna now look a little about the natural methods of visualization in scientific data. It is a great paper. In this paper, we're gonna be present to the same concepts that the book already talk, but it's gonna be directly to your work, to the production of figures and images to scientific data visualization. So my suggestion is not only to read this paper, but to have the book as a reference material to understand of what is them talking about, because they took that basically from the book. Let's talk about bitmap or vector. The resolution is measured in dpi. I know you guys think about what is dpi. So dpi is dot per inch. So each pixel is a dot, and in each inch polegada, you're gonna have a certain number of dots, of pixels. The vector has no dpi because it is an open file. So when you draw something in vector, you need then close the file and then you select how many dpi's it's gonna have. If I give a zoom here, you can see the dots. If I give a zoom in the vector, we can do this forever and it's never gonna have a dot. Also, the vector is an editable form, so we can change this color anytime we want. In fact, it has a color and outline. To edit a bitmap, you're gonna need to open this in Photoshop or GIMP or another software. So the vector can be easily edited. In this, you can return to the original stage easily. You can round the corners and, of course, change the colors. Or even duplicate it more easily. So, a simple question. Which one is vector? Well, are there in the bitmap? Well, looking to a more complex figure, we can see that the vector allows us to always edit. Instead, the bitmap may not have the resolution that we expected. But if we always have to close the image, how we can solve this? So we must to save the file with large pixels. That's why we use the term 300 dpi, which means that in the inch we're gonna have 300 dots in each inch, which is very different. That has only 72 dots. That is the resolution of the screen. So here is a first lesson about DPI. If you have to choose more, because when you're gonna print this is gonna be automatically reduced to the number of the printer that the printer uses. So you're gonna, if you send 60 DPI, it's okay. In the time to print, it's gonna be reduced. It's gonna be printed just fine. But if you send less, this can't be. You can scale up the GPI. You only can scale it down. Again, which one is vector? I believe you guys choose it right. But here, which one has more resolution? If you click here, we can see below that this heart has 30 ppi. 30. Although this one have 450. And this one with more dots have more resolution. So the PNG has transparency, which means that you can easily put anything in the background. So the GPG has not. The white background is going to follow up forever. So let's say we have this figure. And this is the original figure as we receive as output from Biorender or another software. We can see this here. The SVG was not really loaded right. We see that some corners, some arrows here are missing. That is the figure in the middle process. So to get here, we need to basically redo some of the arrows that were missed and to do the boxes. So what I'm gonna show you guys here is what to do when you get a figure and you need to start to do the work.
Allan,
Oh yeah.
why do you think we had this problem with this file? Do you think it's because, are you using Windows? No, you're using a Mac.
No, I think that is due to Biorender. I do have another figures that have the same problem.
This is not BioRender.
Was not?
No, I created all these shapes and forms free-handed, and the arrows are from Inkscape. Maybe there is some problem in the file format which I'm saving the figures. This is weird.
Yeah. I'm gonna get the figure here in PDF maybe. I think that it is the Inkscape, so that's why I didn't recommend you guys to use it because I tried to install this later and didn't get it. But this is a problem with metadata
Mm,
because they import the object. The arrow is here.
yeah, just the body of the arrow that is
You
missing.
can see, but the body
Okay.
doesn't come on.
I think, I'm not sure because I am not really familiar with vectors, graphics, and figures. But I think that it's not related to the file format because SVG is actually a set of instructions to the software, such as Illustrator or Inkscape, that instructions to draw the arrow. So maybe Inkscape is not exporting all the instructions for dots and lines that make this arrow. I think. Try to open a SVG file on your notepad, for instance. You can read it.
Yeah, it's a code. It's
a coded, it's a coded instruction. So maybe it's not exporting all the instructions.
Or maybe different computers read different the instructions differently or output differently.
Different softwares maybe.
Yeah, different
Illustrator
softwares. Yes.
is the most complete, as far as I know, to work with SVG graphics.
Okay. Does PDF work better or maybe not? Right.
Works better because the PDF is a compressed. So what I think that is the arrow was not compressed, was not converted to outline, because here
Okay.
we do have a convert. This is not a line anymore. It's a shape.
Mm-hmm.
So when you convert this to shape, maybe a solution to this, Thomas, is convert to shape in Inkscape and then save
Okay.
to SVG, because then the line is gonna be it's not gonna be read it in the Illustrator, because the Illustrator, you already know that it's only a shape is to draw.
Okay.
Thomas, I know that when you draw this, it is a little different, right? In the stroke.
Let yes,
Yes,
it is. Yes.
so
I I'm very used to using a tool in Inkscape, which is just a line that you draw and it bends itself. I use that a lot. If that's translating wrong, I have to figure out a way to fix it because this is a tool that I use really often.
it's more like this tool, right? It is a line, but here it is more.
But it's
So
all right.
here, after you make the drawing, we can try to you expand it to become
Okay.
a form, because then you can no longer edit the line because it's closed, but now it is expanded. It should be read it better.
Let's see if I have an expand option here in Inkscape. I'm trying to go together, creator.
So
Alan, uh, this is a Illustrator, right?
yes,
I don't
Oh,
think anybody from the lab has Illustrator, but we do have the Canvas. Is this possible to do this in Canvas?
I don't think it is a better it is a good option, even to draw or to edit, because the process is that you do the image in GAF or on it or something. Then you can come to a limit that you cannot edit this in the way you want. So I think that it's better to understand a little about the process, and like I know that I have to expand a vector before to save it to better be read it, something like that, because I I, I don't think you can really solve the problems with a software that cannot hold it. My suggestion to you guys is, for the next lab trainings, we maybe start to do a personal project that should be like a graphical abstract. This figure here is a sample. We get this like that, and with much help, we came to this solution. So you can do this in Inkscape or even in PowerPoint, but it's gonna be more difficult, and maybe you're gonna be missing a time and work. I think that the best thing is like start from the zero and do the scheme, and kind of understand that if you got the C, you need to first see. the first thing you need to practice is more the eye, because in any software you kind of can adjust yourself. Because if you guys need to learn Inkscape, it has like in 10 minutes you can see all the tools. So the tools are basically the same up here in the Illustrator, but some things you can learn just in YouTube. You need to see, to train the eye, but then understand some concepts like layers, like types. I'm gonna show you just one thing to better understand this. So let's say I wanna select all the type here, all the text. I can select all objects with the same fill color. And then I can cut this, start a new layer, paste it, and now we like clean it up the image. So this is basic. And maybe if you try another software, you cannot do this. But I'm sure that in Inkscape you can do something pretty close. Begin to work with layers is begin to manipulate the image properly, because then you can understand that here we have a function, here we have another function. We can select everybody, change the font in the same time, use different softwares that we need to save this in PDF, in SVG, and expand it up and find the format that is better for us. I think that gonna help us in this question.
Alan, one question. If I doing an image and like I need your help to solve something in this image, what is the best format for I save this image for like you solve this problem? Like PDF, what is the best format for I save?
For me, I think it's PDF, because the
Okay,
PDF is the where I can the most um, use the like recovery the image as you did, because
because
the PDF closes it to print. So the PDF try to maintain the integrity of the image, while
because
the SVG tries to maintains the editability of the image. Like you can read this from the start in any software, and the PDF is you doing this to print.
okay, as you told us, every person will work with different programs, but the point is to solve the problem in the end. So doesn't matter if you are explaining the things in Illustrator, because you are just explaining the concepts, the idea of the things, how the things work, how the image work. But the point is, I want to produce a beautiful image about my project, and I have a problem to fix something in this image, and I don't know how to deal with this in Inkscape, for example, but you know how to deal this with Illustrator. So I have just to save this image in PDF, and may I ask help you your help for solve this problem?
Yeah, I think you may save this in PDF so I can open it and edit. But
Okay.
it's also an option that after showing your image and edition, I may send to you in SVG, so you may edit this too, like open it up and put this in your image, because sometimes you don't need to the whole image, but you only need
Mm-hmm.
a cell or organ or something. So I can send the object to you put in the image. So
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I know there is a lot of content, but I encourage you guys to, after and read a little of the folder, principally the Nature papers that gonna go about this more deeply. But I think that is at least two parts. One is read the image and understand it, understand the problem, understand that we need to group or divide or bold or the type. And the other thing is uh, the making of the image that's gonna happen in different softwares. Even you're gonna do this on Gephi, on R, or on Illustrator. And if we already know what we want, it's better to control the output of the file, even the software is being different. And here I want to show that is also pixel and vector. Like you can start a work in vector and then put this in Photoshop and put some color and go on. You don't need to only choose one of them. Instead, merge them to have a better control.
Allan,
Okay.
just a little bit more about layers. Do you have some kind of guide or how exactly do you say these sets of objects is going to be a layer, and how do you conceptually separate layers?
So at first, I separate the text. I think the
Okay.
text is a layer added on because sometimes you need to edit only the form, and it's not good if the text is here,
Mm-hmm.
not help. But as you see here, I put a layer to the cloudy effect here. It is a layer. You can divide layers when you want to select something. By clicking here, I can select everything on this layer. So if I know that I maybe gonna select those things together to change at place, it's better to put that in a layer. The
Okay, so
functions,
it's kind of procedural. You go on creating layers as you notice that you're gonna need to edit specific objects at the same time and stuff like that.
stuff like that, and then the functions, because you know that this probably is a function, and then how you guarantee that you're gonna use only this? If you want to see only this, it's better to put on a layer. And after, and some concepts like copy and paste in the same place, like it's different than only copy and paste. Because when you copy and paste, it's open a new layer and paste in the same place where it were.
Alon, how do you define the order of the layers?
By what is above and what is down.
Yeah,
So if I know that, like here, this object need to be above this other darker blue, it need to be in a up layer, because if it go down, it's not the same.
no. In this case, it's better this blue thing in the middle be how do you disorder? Like this is the first layer, this is the second, this is the third. Because I see a lot of layers, and how do you define disorder? Like this is the first, this is the second, this is the third.
Like here I have a layer only to the circle, layer only to the text. When you use vector, it doesn't really matter. The matter is what is up or down, what is in the front, or what is in the back of the image. Because I need to, this cloudy effect here, It needs to be down. And then it's come to the process because originally each layer of this may have one function, something, some object. In the end, I probably merged all the figures in that layer 12. Layers needed to this image is only these 4 layers.
Is there just two possibilities for the image be like up or down, or there are many stages
They
to the image?
are blended states
Okay.
because it has transparency. So you may change this to multiply. So now it is open. You can see like this, multiply.
Okay, thanks.
Why do this with the text? Because if you need to change this all them together, it is more easy when you are only working with the text. And sometimes you're gonna need because most of the time the figure is right, it's beautiful and is tell the history and the data is there. But the letters, the words, you just can't read. The letters need individual treatment. Sometimes you're gonna need to open the spacement between letters to better readment, or you don't have much space and you need this in a small size. I encourage you to never give up of a image of a figure because it's never done. If we want to, we can pass more 2 days working on this figure. If you do the time you have to do, you can to do, for sure it's gonna be better. If you look, if you change it, if you act on it, it's gonna be better. Start to think on boxes because sometimes you need to say, this and this are the same, are a result of something that's going up, and it's different of that one. That's something that is being inhibited. There is no translation, so it is need to be another color.
Allan,
Right.
just to clear one more thing. When I sent you the original figure, did you essentially have to redo everything, or did you take any of the vectors that were embedded in the file I sent you and just transformed it?
No, the drawings I had to do all them because in sometimes to understand,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not gonna say I redone everything, but
Yeah, it's the same concept but different. Yeah.
yeah, it's the same concept because for this image I was confused about this black line
Okay.
as DNA because we has another of lines like the stroke line and the arrow line. There is no black line here,
Okay.
a blue line, and so you
Uh,
can or redo or change it the color or the arrows was something that needed to be changed always in the most of times
mhm.
because it was not loaded correctly, or you can have another result. You
Okay.
see,
Yeah.
if you have changes in the figure, it would be better to do if it is on vector properly layered with all vegetable forms. Here, um, it's not editable. It is in vector, in curves.
Oh,
So I always
this
have
is the one I sent you or the one you created?
No, the
okay.
one we created. When I close the job, I usually save one file that have all text expanded, because then you don't have to reinterpret this in another computer, because if you don't have the font, it's not gonna work. So like
Okay.
this figure here doesn't have the font.
All
So the
right.
type was not correctly loaded. So those are the main problems that are in work with files. If you don't have the font, you're gonna need to give it an order, and then it's not gonna be the same because the font changes. But this is a PDF. I opened this PDF, and then the layers are all the objects in the same layers. They compress the file in one layer. In fact, it merge everything. So when it's important to, when I open a PDF, I need to say that all this is one cell, is one object, and then pass this to a layer that's gonna be at the down.
So do you group like
I group. I group.
yeah.
To finish there is two kind of arrows. You see in the black arrow?
Yes.
The black arrow is used to move the objects, right? As the white arrow is used to edit objects. You're gonna edit this point.
Okay.
Is the white arrow. And if you're gonna move it, is the black arrow. Into group, you need to select and give a Control G, Command G, and it's gonna be grouped. And if you only move one, the other would be moved together. But
So yeah, my question is when you open the PDF and there are like
compressed,
a bunch of objects,
yeah.
they are all in the same layer.
When he closed the file, this is what I wanted to show you guys. This is what he does. He get some objects and group this for the printer. Like, in some time to print, you print this together. And this messes up the file. You see here, you have like something cut it off. So the first thing I do is to kill the mask. The mask is here. If I select this one corner and delete it 2 times, I kind of easily ungroup. You need to release and kill all the masks that the PDF put your object. I do this selecting by the white arrow. I select the corner and try to find this here, the mask. So after you clean up the masks, you can select each object. And you're going to group things from the PDF. This is a virus, this is another virus. And the difference in DPI and PPI are none. It's just a translation. PPI is pixel per inch, and DPI is dot per inch. If vector images are better than DPI images, and not, because you're gonna use the vector to draw, and the DPI is always gonna you close the image to other people visualize it. So the DPI you may see as an output and the vector as an input. It's good to do your image in vector, but then you need to export this in DPI. Patricia, What is the optimal amount of pixels to save a right resolution image? I'm gonna say to you, a normal paper, A4, you're gonna divide the size per inch and then multiply by 300. If you have 20 centimeters, you need to at least 2,000 pixels. I'm gonna put this on chat. And then you gonna save this up. If you
Alan, is there a way
hello.
for I check like in Linux or in Windows the DPIs of this image? An easy way to check like, oh, I just have to open this and this is the DPI of the image, because I know that in Ubuntu, in Linux, we can check the properties of the image, and I can see like 300 dots per inch, like 300 by 300. This is the resolution.
So you must think that 1 inch is 2.5 centimeters. That if you have 300 pixels, like 300 pixels, okay. But you're only gonna print 2.5 centimeters. Like to print a business card, you need more than 60 pixels to 5 cm. If you need 60 pixels to 5 cm, a normal size for a printer image in a sheet paper is above 200 to 300 pixels. If you look at softwares like I think Inkscape or GIMP, you may have a idea of the resolution, but I don't recommend to do this because it is an expression. In monitoring the screens, um, it's always gonna be 72 dpi in monitor, 72 dpi. In the paper is 300, which means the same image is gonna open differently in differently size in the screen or the paper. If you're going to print this, you need a larger file. That's why we usually save in TIFF and 300 dpi for print. But if you're gonna present this on a screen, it's gonna be shared online, if it's gonna be posted, if it is a web format, you don't need to follow up any of DPI things because you're gonna work in the monitor base screen resolution that is 72 dpi.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you all for coming. I hope that in the next live meetings we can explain and explore more. And I leave it up for you guys to leave your comments.
Alan, muito obrigado, cara, tipo, por ter aceitado apresentar hoje. Eu sei que você tá cheio de coisa aí para fazer. Eu até te dei a sugestão de talvez adiar para hoje, de hoje para daqui a 2 semanas, né? Mas assim, muito obrigado por ter aceito hoje. Acho que foi uma introdução muito boa, deu para quem era naive como eu dar uma boa visualização das coisas. Então, assim, foi muito bom. Muito obrigado mesmo.
Eu que agradeço a presença de todos vocês, os comentários, as conversas.
Estamos ouvindo.
Allan, muito obrigado. Você falou umas coisas interessantes que eu não sabia, porque eu não estou acostumado a trabalhar com SVG. Para mim, a imagem tem que ser TIFF, é o que eu falo, não, nem JPEG eu gosto, porque JPEG comprime e tem perda de informação. Se você quer analisar a informação na imagem, você tem que usar, eu prefiro TIFF. E eu estou acostumado sempre a trabalhar com programas que leem imagens bitmap, né, que leem arranjo de pixel. E aqui é diferente de quando você usa um vetorizado. Nunca, assim, máximo que eu vou é abrir no Inkscape, joga tudo no Inkscape e tenta alinhar tudo para ficar bonitinho. É sempre o que eu faço. Nunca fui a fundo nesse negócio. E exporta em 300 dpi porque é tipo uma regra geral. 300 dpi é uma boa resolução para imprimir. Aí...
Mas se você fizer a sua imagem pequena e tal, quando você exportar para 300 dpi, ela vai continuar pequena.
É isso mesmo. Ficou horrível. E o negócio da fonte também achei legal.